I was born in the sweltering heat of a Roman province, in a tiny village where life was a constant fight against hunger, disease, and the whims of those who ruled us. My parents were simple folk, but fate had other plans for me. I wasn't born into luxury, I was born into chains. Or maybe the chains found me later, but either way, my life was never my own. By the time I was 10, my world shifted violently. Raiders swept through our village one night, leaving death and smoke in their wake. I was taken not for ransom, not for slavery in the fields, but for the arena. They called it a gift to Rome, but to me it was a sentence written in blood. From that day forward, I wasn't a boy, I was property, a plaything for spectators' thirst for blood. Life in the ludus, the training school for gladiators, was relentless. I learned to wield the gladius, the trident, the net, and the myriad other tools of death. Every muscle in my body screamed in pain every day, and every scar etched onto my skin reminded me that survival was never guaranteed. We were fed enough to train, but never enough to forget hunger. We were beaten when we faltered and celebrated only when we were useful. There was no childhood, no innocence, only drills, discipline, and the ever-present shadow of death. When I was 16, I fought my first match. The crowd roared as if their cheers could make me stronger, but all I felt was fear. I was thrust into the sand against another boy my age, both of us trembling, both of us clinging to the hope that one of us might survive. And I did survive, barely, but I killed a boy who had been as terrified as I was. That moment haunted me forever. The applause that followed was hollow, a celebration of death that I didn't want to partake in. Years passed, and I rose through the ranks. I became a champion not because I wanted glory, but because I learned to kill better, faster, smarter. I earned the crowd's favor, the nods of the emperor, and the envy of my peers. They called me invincible, the pride of Rome, but none of them saw the nightmares that followed me to my bunk at night. I dreamed of blood, of the faces of those I had killed, of the screams that never left my ears. Being a champion didn't bring peace. It only brought more fights, more death, and a cage gilded with applause. I had wealth too, or at least the illusion of it. Furs, jewels, food, and baths, but these comforts could not cleanse the blood off my hands or the weight off my soul. Freedom was a word I heard whispered among others, but it was a lie for me. Even when spared by mercy, I was still a gladiator. I was still a spectacle. My life was never mine, no matter how many victories I claimed. I fought in battles designed to entertain the mob, each fight more dangerous than the last. Lions, tigers, armed slaves, even condemned criminals. Anything for a laugh, a cheer, a coin tossed from the emperor's box. Every day I wondered if this would be the last day I woke, and every night I prayed for a release that never came. Eventually, age caught me. My reflexes dulled, my stamina waned, and the crowd's cheers turned to whispers of disappointment. I had survived countless fights, yet I could not survive the inevitable decay of my own body. I was no longer the unstoppable champion. I was a shadow of the terror I once inspired. The same arena that had lifted me to godlike status became a place where I was laughed at, underestimated, and finally forgotten. When the day came for my final fight, I knew it. Not because the emperor spared me the truth, but because my own body whispered it in every trembling limb, every ragged breath. I stepped into the sand one last time, a crowd cheering for the glory they would remember, not the man they never knew. I fought, yes, but I fought with the knowledge that this time survival was unlikely. And it didn't matter. The cheers were hollow, the victory meaningless. The arena, my life's cage, had claimed me as it always would. I died as I had lived, in the spotlight with thousands watching, yet utterly alone. And as my blood soaked the sand, I realized the cruelest truth. Being a gladiator champion is not about glory, power, or wealth. It's about a life stolen, a body broken, and a soul enslaved in the name of entertainment. The crown of victory is just another chain. And the crowd, they never knew and they never cared. Gladiators are legends, yes, but those legends are written in pain, suffering, and a death that comes not with honor but with applause. And that is why it truly, painfully, undeniably, sucks to be a gladiator champion.